Hello, I'm James,
Hi, I'm Jimmy,
and welcome to A Job Done Well.
the podcast that helps you improve your performance and enjoyment at work.
Good afternoon, how are you doing?
Good afternoon, James. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fabulously, thank you very much.
You can
Quite
say
excited.
You can say fabulous this week because it's nice and sunny.
It is, it's beautiful, nice and warm. I'm sitting here in my shorts, there's a nice little mental image for you. So what are we doing today?
Today, we have got a special guest with us, a good friend of ours, Andy Warren, who is going to talk to us about the subject of networking, the importance of it, what you can get done with it, and how you go about doing it. So it's one of those jobs that we all love to hate, isn't it?
Some of us more than others.
Yes, as we will no doubt find out as we
Yeah.
get into this. Anyhow, what have you been up to apart from enjoying the weather?
Well, in my infinite wisdom, I volunteered to help a friend of mine whose 70th birthday is just coming up. And he's doing a This Is Your Life sketch at his birthday party. And I am going to be, what's his name? Is it Eamonn Andrews?
Eamonn, yeah. You'll be Eamonn Andrews.
Yeah, so I am going to be Eamonn Andrews for the evening. So I've been helping him prepare that. The best bit of which is I've been trawling YouTube, looking at 1980s and 1990s adverts. Pepperami, it's a bit of an animal. That's what I can say to you. Anyway, moving on very swiftly. What have you been up to?
I have been getting to grips with the fact that my 18-year-old daughter has gone on holiday to Cornwall and she is driving her own car down there. And it's like 330 miles in a Fiat 500. There is no way on earth that I would ever do it, but she's done it. And just to add a cherry on top of that story, Andy, she's insured with Ticker.
Ah, bless her. Bless her. Fantastic. We'll eat tonight. We have profit. We have a safe driver on the books.
Oh, yeah. You haven't seen her drive. When you're checking out her stats, you might be saying something different. Anyhow, welcome, Andy. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, James. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for the invite. Big fan of the podcast. I've listened to most of them. It's my most favourite pastime whilst sitting on the M25 listening to A Job Done Well.
What have your minds?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
I'll scoop your eyeballs out. Is that
I
what
thought
it
you were going to
is?
say
Yeah.
it helps you go to sleep at night.
Don't be so large, not when I'm driving. Yeah, no, seriously, guys, thanks for the invite to talk about one of my favourite subjects. But yeah, a wee bit about me. So, well, I've certainly known you guys for a good 10, 15 years, having worked together in one of the big insurance companies. I guess I'm a little bit of a late starting entrepreneur from, I'd like to say leaving college, but getting kicked out of college. I've done the big company thing. I've worked with Microsoft, Disney, Xerox, Coca-Cola, to name a few, RSA being my last kind of big one. But then leaving a job that I loved and a company that I loved equally, was kind of forced into a consultancy role. And if it were not for the power of networking, I'd have probably been buying an allotment or something, because I think my network of people just meant when I decided to leave the big corporate world, for the first 5 years, and we're only 5.5 years in, the phone didn't stop ringing with people who just kind of knew me by reputation, banging on the door. But the last 4 or 5 years, I've really been working with the big private equity houses, working on strategies and helping them on a lot of supply chain stuff, which is the area where I guess I'm more of an expert in my business world, predominantly in insurance. So when a big private equity company wants to buy a chain of, let's say, body shops to grow, consolidate, make it international, I'm the go-to guy. So I've been very, very busy working on the client side, so the big insurers, but also with the private equity guys. So actually, it's the worst retirement in history, but I love it. And I'm pleased to say, well, I think, and clearly by the amount of offers I get, other people think I'm pretty good at it too. So that's me, guys.
Well, thank you for coming on today, Andy. And one of the reasons why we asked you on is you are absolutely the best connected person that either of us know. And also, I think our views on networking between the three of us are really contrasting. So you'll have James, who at one end of the spectrum, who views networking as a chore, something he hates doing. Me in the middle, it's a task, but I've got to do it. And you at the other end, where it's more of a way of life for you. So you're going to share some of that expertise, whilst James and I share some of our slightly more prosaic views on networking. So James, what is networking? You will always have a definition for us.
I have looked it up. I've got a definition and I've got an interesting fact. So the definition: networking is the action or process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional or social contacts. So yeah. More interesting is the earliest known use of the noun networking is in the 1940s. So there you go. It's a relatively new thing. You were probably about when that started, weren't you, Andy, in the 1940s?
It's not far off. Yeah. I remember it better than the war. Networking.
That's why he's got lots of practice at it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I knew it would come in handy one day.
Just to build on it, that process of meeting people or contacts to get something done. For me, networking it is connecting with other people for a purpose. And that purpose might be to get the job done. It might be to find work. It might be to get help with stuff. It might be to get advice. But there's always a purpose to that connection. So, Andy, how do you think about the definition of networking?
I guess I'm glad you've just said networking, because I've done a few podcasts about it, Jimmy, business networking. I mean, there may be a different, I suppose, sort of end game. Dating is networking. When you go to school, to fit in.
I was never very good at that either.
Or going to school, or
I was all right going to school, but I had to go to school.
What it's been for me, or the kind of resultant of what it's been for me, I stopped having interviews. And that is purely because of networking. And that probably answers so many questions, that I knew people. Now, my network didn't give me the job. And that resonates with me and my kids. Both of them have got jobs in businesses where I opened a door. What I didn't do is get them the job. In the same way as none of my networks have got me the sales or the contacts or whatever. It really is a wheel greaser, an icebreaker. I think if you go into a networking event, and there are such things as networking events, you just go along and you press flash and how do you do? I'm Jimmy, I'm James, I'm Andy, whatever, and promote yourself, promote your brand. But every day, every conversation is, and today I'll probably find out. I mean, I know you guys really, really well. I've been working with you for sort of 10 years or so, but I'll find out something I didn't know about you, Jimmy, or something I didn't know about you, James. You're my kind of repeat customer network that I know I can come to you for anything that I know falls into your space. So for me, it's just a constant way of staying in touch, finding out what people do. And this may surprise some people, but for me, it's about helping other people more than myself. I mean, sometimes it's a pain, don't get me wrong. Once in a while you think, well, that was a waste of time, but not every shot's a goal in networking. I'll meet 20 people at a networking event, and I guarantee I will come out of there having met a dozen, 15 people that I've never ever met before, that I will feel completely comfortable emailing or making a call or asking them to meet, because I've offered them help, or I'm interested in what they've got to offer. And let's face it, human nature kicks in here, Jimmy, and people like talking about themselves. If you fly in there and your first thing you do is, I've got this to sell, I'm promoting that, I'm pushing that, or whatever, people switch off, you'll never hear from them again. But that's what it is for me, a chance to connect with people by offering them help, and in return getting a wee bit of reciprocation, and then being able to help you.
No, just on that point of about being, people like to talk about themselves and being interested in them. I heard a great quote about networking recently, which was, be interested, not interesting. So get that balance between listening to people and finding out about people, rather than I'm on broadcast mode to talk about myself.
Yeah, I think you make a really interesting point. It's about listening to people rather than pushing your own agenda out. I mean, I have to admit, I hate it, and because I hate doing it, do it really, really badly. But for me, I always feel I feel a bit dirty doing it. I'll be honest with you, because I always feel I'm doing this for an outcome. It's almost like I'm using people. And that's my mental model of it. And because of that's my mental model, I don't like doing it, because I don't like doing it. I'm not very good at it. But it just, it's not helpful to go into it with that friend.
But James, if you talk to Andy, which we both have, and we've experienced what he gets done with networking, there's a bit of getting work. There's a bit of getting the job done at work. And then there's everything from holidays to cars to God knows what else that you're able to have an influence on through your networks. Do you see, James, the importance of networking?
Oh, absolutely. And so if you think about jobs, of one of the 6 large organizations that I've worked for, a third of them I've got through networking.
Every piece of work I've had in the last 10 years has been through networking. It's never been through going out and applying for jobs or finding jobs. It's been through people that know me.
Yeah.
So I think we're all agreed on the importance of networking. But if it is an important task to either get the job done or further your career in your life or whatever, what do you see the barriers to networking are? I mean, James, you touched on one in terms of mindset, but Andy, what's your view?
Well, I suppose the first one, Jimmy, is just the fear of rejection. And, whilst I've years and years of experience of networking, there's still a wee bit of show night nerves when you've targeted somebody to get to. Now, I'm targeting people up in the C-suite level. I mean, I'll talk to everybody, but if I'm actually networking, then I'll be trying to network for a cause, for a purpose, and normally to a person in an organization. And that can be through a multiple mediums, like directly phone calls, or via an intro from another person, or via LinkedIn, or going to an event, keynote speaker, all that kind of stuff. But it's the fear of rejection. And I get rejected all the time. I remember at one of our first meetings, Jimmy, I was coming to work for you, moving across in an organization. And I only heard about you from reputation, that you were a bit kind of no nonsense. You were an okay guy, but you were just sort of focused on it. And I was immediately at ease with you because we spoke for 40 minutes about football, and then kind of got into work. I mean, that really resonated with me. I'm exactly the same. And, if I'm going to a CEO of a private equity house, I absolutely don't fly in there and give them my kind of ratio and multiples of the last interest success that I had on a payout. I would know something about them. So the barriers, I think, people create them themselves. So they're afraid for no particular reason, but then also they're getting it wrong, because they are thinking that network is a sales pitch, a door opener to push something. If you go into it like that, with that mindset, then you're going to fail. I mean, I guarantee you're going to fail, or you're just going to be so less successful than somebody goes in there, finds common ground, etc., etc. So if you approach it from a slightly less businessy point of view, you just want to find out a hook about that person. What are they into? What will break the ice for you for them to take a call from you next time? So I think fear of rejection is probably the biggest barrier for everybody, and that doesn't go away.
Yeah, I think another one, I was, as you rightly say, Andy, in my career, I was always very results focused. And I think early in my career, I couldn't see the point in networking. It didn't have the immediacy of, I don't know, I'm running a sales team, I've got to get results today. Why am I networking? It can be a long-term investment. Yes. But sometimes you don't even get anything back. It doesn't pay off. And so the results focused nature of me for a long while didn't see, why would I spend time with people outside of my team, outside of my organization, where I just didn't have a clear purpose in getting my results today. What else, James, do you think gets in the way of networking?
Well, I think fear is the key thing, isn't it? I suppose it is. I think it's interesting, right? It's something that you do, or something that I will do quite happily when I don't have a purpose for doing it, if that makes sense. Whereas if I'm trying to do it because I want to make a sale, or I want to meet such and such a person, then I just get tied up in knots. I think you're right, Andy, it's fear of rejection. But you then get tied up in knots, and then you focus on what you're not trying to do too well. And just, it all goes downhill. Whereas if you're going to a social event or something like that, and it's just chatting to people, then more than happy to do that. So it is almost that, why am I trying to do this? And that gets in the way for me.
I've been so lucky and so fortunate in my career to have networked and met and benefited from great sponsors in all the companies that I've worked with. But the key to me has been staying in touch with them. Even now, I've got half a dozen CEOs from banks and insurance that I'll still call up. I'll ask about their grandchildren, how their rugby team's doing, just to keep those networks alive, because these guys are still super, super valuable. And, as I say, I spend more of my life working than I've done anything, even being a dad or anything, or a mate or anything like that, so I'm pleased to call you two friends. I'd say 90% of my friends are all through my lifetime of work, because I spend so long doing it, and I love it and I enjoy it too, which helps.
There's a couple of bits just to pick on there, Andy. One, keeping in touch with people, because another thing that I've experienced is it's really difficult and quite false when you wait till you need something and then you get in touch with people that you haven't talked to for years. I won't do it. I try and keep in touch with people because I like them. I like keeping in touch with them. I think it's good to keep your network healthy. But if I haven't talked to somebody for, say, 10, 15 years, and then I think I want something from them, they could help me with something. I won't just ring them up out of the blue. I just can't do that. So,
and that's interesting. I mean, we've all had experience of that. People contacting us out of the blue,
of course,
and it's blatantly obvious they just flipping want something.
Yeah.
As well as recording this podcast, we help individuals, teams, and entire organisations achieve outstanding results.
If you'd like to find out more about how we can help you, please get in touch. Email either jimmy@ajobdonewell.com or james@ajobdonewell.com.
Back to the fear thing, because for people just starting off in my career, and I've two sons who've a foot or two on the kind of ladder of corporate and business, and it's easy to mentor them. Whether they listen or not, I don't know, but they seem to want my advice. But it really is, look, not every shot you take is going to be a goal. Not every person you chat to in the bar is going to want to give you their number. So rejection's a part of life, but it's how you approach it. You can de-risk it by your attitude, by your brand, by being a nice person.
One of the things that helped me change my attitude towards networking, because I saw it as a task, and it doesn't help me get my results today, so why am I bothering to do that? And then I realized actually it was important to your career and all the rest of it, and I should do more of it. But one of the things I struggled with, there is a value exchange between people. So when you have that meeting, and I used to think, well, what value are you getting out of me? Well, actually, the reality is, if you go and ask somebody for help, the value that's in it for them is they get the opportunity to help someone. Yeah. And in general, humans are wired to want to help people. So actually, they feel good. If you're reaching out to them and saying, can you give me some help on that? You get the benefit of some advice or an opportunity or whatever it is. The thing that's in it for them, the value exchange for them, is that they can feel good about themselves. Yeah. So I think seeing that value exchange helped me think, actually, I'm not just an inconvenience to you. Yeah. You're going to get something out of it. And the other thing I was just going to mention, just back to your point, James, I'm actually the opposite of you, as in you're saying that when you are networking without a purpose, just social, that's better for you. Personally, I'd like to have a purpose as to why I'm networking. And so I find it easier. The three of us show the different attitudes. You've got to almost find your path and what you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable networking where I know the purpose of the conversation, whether it's help, whether it's advice, whether it's introductions, whatever it is, versus that gets in my way. So I think it is a bit of a personal thing, isn't it, really?
Totally, yeah. And I think the other barriers or things that people should keep an eye on, Jimmy, is, as I say, I think that the fear thing comes naturally, but that keeps you sharp. I mean, nobody's ever moaned about a short introduction. Keep it succinct. James, I think the difference between Jimmy and you and I was the fact that you always sorting out the business. You were sorting out the processes, answering the phones, all that kind of stuff, where my entire work life has been facing outward. So I have more of a need for it naturally, because I was a salesy person. I was a guy cutting the deals for the company. So all of my interactions were external. But for you and for people who are perhaps not outwardly facing in an organization, you will one day need another job, need to find somebody to employ. And that's where your network comes in handy, I think. So it's different for different people.
You've got somebody here who lives by it and loves it. Somebody here who it has to have a purpose and a reason for it and a result and an outcome, and somebody who doesn't enjoy doing it. But we're all agreed that it is really important. We've touched on some of the things that can really help. But Andy, as our networking guru, if you had to narrow down all of those years of experience, what would be your top 3 tips to people in terms of excelling at networking?
Well, I'm glad you say top 3, because the last 2 podcasts people have said, what's the one thing? And that's the easiest question.
I'm probably going to live to regret giving you 3. I know that.
Well, all I can say is when they say, what's the one thing? The one thing is there is no one thing. I wish there were. But so I'd say
it's like when you were a little kid and somebody said to you, you can have 3 wishes. And you always used to say, my third wish is, I want 3 more wishes.
If you've enjoyed our podcast, please share it with someone you think would benefit from it.
Also, like and follow us wherever you get your podcast, or on LinkedIn, TikTok or YouTube. And 5-star reviews are always welcome.
And equally, if you've got any feedback on how we can improve the podcast, subjects you'd like us to cover, or questions we can help you with, please do get in touch. Email jimmy@ajobdonewell.com or james@ajobdonewell.com.
My three main tips would be your brand, so be authentic, be genuine. People can spot a fake, and they may know you've come to them because the end game will be you're selling something, you provide a service or whatever, or you just need a bit of their time. But as you said, Jimmy, people kind of like to help. So that's number one. Number two is overcoming that fear of rejection, and don't be afraid of fear. It'll keep you sharp, it'll keep you caffeine buzzing, but don't beat yourself up about a well-polished kind of opening statement. Work on that elevator pitch. You might have a minute, 2 minutes with that person because they're so kind of busy. You may be lucky, you get an age, but not every shot's a goal. Practice your opening dialogue, and before you go along, prepare. So have a hook. You might just have a chance meeting, and then you've got to kind of think on your feet. But if you're going to network in an environment, room full of bank managers or jewelry shop owners or something like that, find the common ground, target the people that you want to speak to, and set yourself a goal. So even now, in my ripe old age, I'll set a goal of 10 contacts, people that I've not spoken to before, 5 of which I have a reason to follow up with, whether they come to me or I go to them. And 1 or 2 of those people will turn into a really meaningful relationship on contact 1. But my measurement, Jimmy, is that every single one of those people that I've contacted, I will keep alive. I mean, my LinkedIn inbox is huge, and I always respond. I'm worse than Elon Musk is on Twitter. I will always, because people have taken the trouble to contact me. And I think the third one is
Sorry, one quite small question on, if you're going to a networking event, or you're going to reach out to people, or you've got a meeting with a CEO or something coming up, how do you prepare?
So what I'll tend to do, Jimmy, is I know what my end goal is, and it might just be a further conversation, but a wee bit of research. So I do a 3 and a 1. So I look for 3 things about them generally. So that might be, are they a family person? Do they have any social media? Most people are into a sport or a pastime. It might be country music or Morris dancing, or, hardcore Millwall, or cooking or wine or whatever. But find that common ground, because once you've kind of hit it.
My mother once said to me, you should try everything in life once except Morris dancing and incest. Just a thought for you.
Really?
There's so many jokes, James, but none of them could we have in the podcast.
I do think you have to be very careful. So I went to a Chinese restaurant. I have been going to this restaurant for 20 odd years. I probably go 2 or 3 times a year. So on what you would regard, I would imagine, as a good customer, the owner came up to me the other day. I was in there with my daughters, and he came up and he said, "Oh, hello, how are you? How are your sons?" And it was, you just have to be careful.
You've got to be confident in your facts. But I think the point about finding common ground quite quickly, even if you haven't researched. I mean, I was having a conversation with somebody who I'd met for the first time earlier this week, and she was just telling me her story, and she had just recently moved to Nottingham from Norfolk. My grandparents and my dad were from Norfolk. So all of a sudden you found some common ground, and you start talking about that common ground, there's immediately a connection there. So even through the conversation, whether it's kind of interests, workplaces, where they've lived, you can generally find a good connection, can't you?
It's so easy. It's so easy. My third point is that 80-20. Listen 80, talk 20. And that I think that's probably the golden rule after don't be afraid. The worst that's going to happen is to say, thanks for that, but that's really not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Go find somebody else, move on to the next speed date if you like. So but they're the 3 kind of big headers. I mean, it's such a big subject. And for different people, manage your time well as well, and pick your platforms, pick the events that you go to pick the way that you do it, and you'll boil it down to a successful methodology after a very, very short space of time, something that works for you, because it might not work for me.
3 great bits of advice, Andy, but I think the one I'd add is that last one, which is you've got to find ways of doing this that work for you personally, because I think we're all individuals. We all have different likes, dislikes, anxieties, whatever. And as we've discussed today, we all think it's important. We all have very different attitudes towards how we look at it, how we do it, and how we feel about it. So I think getting your mindset around it And so the thing that unlocked it for me was that value proposition where we're each going to get something out of that. So your point, Andy, which is mutuality, we're both going to come away from this interaction with something out of it. So focusing on mindset, I think helped me, but figuring out the mindset that suits you. James, even though it's not something you love doing though, have you got any other hints and tips to add?
I think for me, Andy's point about mutuality is all important because, you know, a sad thing, isn't it? Whatever it is, whoever you meet on the way up, you can just as easily meet on the way down as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so throughout your career, it's about treating people decently, because if you treat people decently, they will treat you decently in return, would be the one thing. And the other thing is, if you're like me and you really hate it, you can't be good at everything, find somebody who is good at it and work with them, would be my piece of advice.
Yeah, absolutely, make the intro. I think what we didn't touch on is absolutely what it isn't. And I don't think it's a tool in a toolkit. You've got to be up for it. You've got to have a degree of confidence. You've got to research your networking targets, if you like, and you've got to know your business, because you've got one chance. It doesn't really matter if your PowerPoint doesn't go that well, or you don't answer all their questions at the next business meeting, or you've got queries at what they're offering or whatever. If you can't get across to somebody that you're a decent person, that it's worth their while giving you a little bit of time then, and then, you know, a week or so after. That's why for the last sort of 5 or 6 years, my biggest successes have come from people that I've already got a relationship with. So you've got to be open. You've got to invest a bit of time in it. It's not just a 9 to 5 thing, networking.
So just to summarize where we've got to, we've talked about what we think networking is, the importance of it in terms of getting stuff done at work, getting jobs, getting stuff done in life. And then we've shared some of our things that get in the way of it. We talked about fear. We talked about the task. And then we've shared some of the top tips. And the top tips for Andy were work on your personal brand, be authentic, overcome the fear factor of it, and adopt the 80-20 rule in terms of listening versus speaking. So be interested, not interesting. And then we've shared some of our tips, James, which was about mutuality and find your way of doing it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, or find somebody to work with who's good at it.
Your answer, find someone else who can do it for you.
Well, you can't all be good at everything. Don't beat yourself up about it.
And when you started off on your kind of route of being a consultant, which you're really good at, you could be the greatest consultant in the world, but if you haven't got any customers because you've not networked, then what's the point? You're a footballer without a football team. So it is useful. And as I say, I mean, the proof in the pudding, I mean, I wish I was half as bright as you, but the proof in my pudding was the fact that my last, probably 30 assignments since being in consultancy, I've not had one request for a CV or an interview. It's just been purely reputation. So, and thank goodness for that, because I don't interview particularly well. So it's just a lot easier to kind of work on reputation and the fact that people actually quite like me. So I'm quite proud of that.
So thank you, Andy. And James, anything else to add?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, hopefully you've found this episode useful and are inspired to take some of Andy's networking tips. If you want to find out any more, get in touch with us at Jimmy@jobdonewell.com or James at jobdonewell.com. Thanks, everyone.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Guys. Great to see you.
Cheers,
Cheers now.